Hello, family. It's Hitting the Angles back with you again for another episode. And today we are talking about the breakdown of the Black family. So we know that this discussion can go pretty deep. So hopefully today we'll be able to be cordial to one another, but also get our points across. So we'll see how it goes. We got Arthur with us today. Mike's on the line.
Indeed.
And we have a beautiful young lady calling in with us today. And I'll let her introduce herself. Tell them a little bit about yourself, Kadia.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kadia Warren. I am the owner of Mended Counseling Group in Greensboro, North Carolina. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor, also a licensed clinical addiction specialist, a few other certifications, and wife and mother.
Beautiful.
And
so glad to have you here today.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, the breakdown of the Black family. Now, let's just start off by saying that all of us have been a part of a Black family, no matter how dysfunctional it might have been. We still have a full understanding of what family structure looks like.
Yes.
But let's just say that we know that there is a natural order to things. I will start by saying that I believe that God set up order. So we know that the family structure is very important in terms of, who's the head and who is following the head and how those things trickle down to make the family unit and the structure work properly. But I do understand that there has been a breakdown in terms of how the Black family has changed over time, and it has caused us to make a lot of different changes in the lives of ourselves and our children and our grandchildren. We can definitely see how that breakdown has caused generational gaps and differences in what we believe the family structure should look like. So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you think, Arthur?
I think that when we talk about the breakdown of the Black family, if we look at it, we follow the United States and its path, we see that a lot of the breakdown happened with corporate America as well as through policies. And we look back in the 1920s, we were the poorest we was. Poverty was the worst for the Black community, but we were the strongest. More kids were born in wedlock. Women did not, the large majority of women would not have children. Most Black people were Black families. The husband was the head of the house. He went out and worked. But we were working. The Black woman and the Black male was working, but the Black wife, she was out doing domestic work. He was out working in factories. Also, something very important. In the 20s, we were Republicans, which is very important. I think part of why the breakdown happened. So in the 20s, we were the poorest. Crime was less. We were producing doctors, lawyers with our kids, factory workers, skilled workers, and we're putting all them out into the market. Then the 60s happened. And that's where the Republicans say, hey, why are Black men being Democrats? Because that's where liberalism started and became really big. And Black men got screwed all the way around, totally in that. It was no place for us with that. You had two things. First, we left the Republican Party, went to the Democratic Party. We went to liberalism, which was really where laws were passed. The Black men got the bad shaft of all those laws. Then we go into the women's movement, where white women wanted to be Black women. They wanted to be an equal share in the house. They wanted to go out and work, and they were out there fighting, and they needed a voice, so they teamed up with Black women to get better rights for them. And when they won, they went into the job place, and they won that. Guess what happened? Corporate America already was afraid of Black men. So now we don't have to deal with them as much because now we can hire women now to do those jobs. So now we're bringing in Black women to take our jobs away from the Black men. Now you're starting to see the breakdown of the family house. Then come in, we start shipping jobs out. The steel jobs, the manufactured jobs, guess who's getting the hit or worst of it? Like they say, when America gets a cold, Black men get COVID. Mm-hmm. We're getting hit the worst, so they're shipping jobs off. Now the jobs that we are doing are now being shipped off. So now we have no jobs. And when it comes to hiring a man versus a Black man or Black woman, they're hiring Black men, Black women. So now they're putting them in a position. Then we go through the next one. We just got through. We left the Republican Party. We're now into our new thing, women empowerment. A woman don't need a man. The total breakdown of the family home. Here's a little fact. If anybody, Miss Kadia, you can check me on this if you want to. Black kids do not like step parents. That does not work. We make it work with black kids. Excuse me, I'm not going to say black kids. Kids do not like step parents. It's just not a good environment. Another environment that don't work very well, multiple parenting. And what I mean is half siblings and half brothers. They have found a study that usually people in those environments are more apt to create crime than a one husband, one wife type family, setting the crime rate is usually lower. So now we have the family already being broke apart. At this time in the 70s, and you can check, we're now up to about 72% of kids being born out of wedlock. The prison spike went up to 60%. So now black men in prison, and another thing we have to look at too, if there wasn't many jobs, a lot of time crime was a way for black men to make money. And so now we have black men out here committing crime. And now we have black women saying, I don't need a man. And if you follow the system, I'm going to go ahead on and shorten this. And that's why you hear so many Republicans say, I don't understand why black men don't want to be Republicans. Because you got this shaft of everything that came out of moving to the Democratic Party. And I can go into why we don't, but that's it. And now we're into the movement now. That a black woman, she's a B, or she's a mad black woman. Black men are bitter at her, and then everybody else is saying that it's because they shifted their roles so much in the family that they pretty much moved from the black man and they become the matriarch in the family. And we were seeing crime is down, crime is up.
Well, I think all of that is perpetuated within the system itself.
Absolutely.
You know, of course, it's going to be greater when you have the system itself creating the stats. Of course, it's going to be greater when you have people who don't do their due diligence and research with these stats and things for themselves. You know, to let the system and society tell it, black people are the most disease ridden, the worst crime committing, the most uneducated, and all of that is totally false.
True.
When you believe in and hold on to all of these stats and facts that's put together about black people from the very people who are down pressing us, then we never gonna get anywhere, because we taking the crap that they fashioned into a hat and we're wearing it proud like it's a crown.
My God.
You know what I mean? They took a dump on us and we said, thank you for the hat.
And I'm agree with you. Remember Bill Clinton? You know, he played the saxophone. He was our president. Remember what he said? We're going to a communication era. We thought we were going to create jobs from it. What it is, we're going to control the narrative out there.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and Google, and I'm not talking about TikTok, because TikTok is trying to censor everything, and it's not a United-based company, and so censorship is relevant where they at. But Facebook and Google have done a good job of allowing people to have their own platform. I look on Facebook every day. Oh, what's his name? Country Wayne. Country Wayne, whole line is, because I'm rich and I put my baby mamas in cars and houses, I can keep having baby mamas. And once he has a baby mama, he gives a car and a house to, and the man that she's with don't have a job. And he continues paying. But he tells his kids, this is not for you. But his whole thing, and the only way comedy works, it has to be relatable. If you can't relate to it, it's not funny. So people are relating to that. I think you want to say something, Miss Kadia, because I kind of hear
a lot of it. You're right. A lot of the stuff that we see is based on, even stereotypes are based upon what people are seeing. Doesn't make them necessarily factual, but it is based on what people are seeing. So I want to go back to the breakdown. The 1920s, I get that whole era. that I take it back to slavery. Since the beginning of time, women have been running families. In slavery, men were separated. Oftentimes, the wife was there with the children if they weren't separated. So, since the beginning of time, women are used to running the household. Now, I'm not even going to get into the Christian piece of it, but
I'll take
I
care of
think
that, Kadia. You got it, sis.
okay, thank you, because I but anyway. So I want to say that in order to really understand it, you have to go way back there. All of the laws that are in place, they, back in that time, whenever slavery ended, it was so that the white people would be able to, by land and all these things, they would have all these liberties, entitlements, dare we call them that, and that the laws that were put in place so that Black people could not. They couldn't own a home. They weren't considered a whole person. And so I feel like Black women get a bad shake of saying, well, you know what, now women are saying they don't need a man, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. Now, I don't believe that anything is all, so I don't believe anything is 100%, but I think it's more than women just do not, they're just saying, for the hell of it, I don't need a man.
The majority of women isn't saying that.
Right.
You know, that's another one. That's another one of those false narratives that they put out there.
Yes,
just like the Black woman is angry and her attitude and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they put that out there as the standard, and people grab onto that and hold that. You know, I'm not gonna say, you know, oh well, that's the way women think and whatnot. Because that's holding on to that lie and perpetuating that lie. It's not even worthy of crossing my tongue. I'm not going to spit that on my queens. I'm not going to spit anything on my queen that I feel is put out here by the system itself. That's where we have to go. The root of all of this is the very, very system that we're talking about, that we're serving, that we're perpetuating with most of everything that we do. When we go, for those people who go to the polls and vote every year, you just perpetuated this system. You just played a part. For everyone who refuses to actually speak out and use all of these platforms that everyone can agree is perpetuating all the stereotypes and building a false narrative about our race. As long as we continue to build and use and hold on to these platforms and give the oppressor that owns these platforms more and more power, then, we're doing no better for ourselves. We cannot look to anyone else, anything else that's in our immediate existence right now to change the narrative about us. Because the narrative...
But here's the thing. People don't know how to change the narrative.
Yes,
I don't believe that, Kadia. I believe that people want to use the system as an excuse to operate in something that they're familiar with because they don't want to change. That's what I believe. And I'm only saying that because I was a single mother and I did have 2 children and it was difficult, but I never operated in a mindset where I felt comfortable being a single parent. I never operated in the narrative where I felt like I was the mother and the father. I have only ever been the mother. I will only ever be the mother. Whether the father chooses to be there or not, that vibration is still very important. But what I did decide is that I did not want to put my family in a position where we had to operate under this system. So I did not force a narrative in our family dynamic by taking my children's father to court, because I knew that his responsibility to his children should be there without someone involving themselves in something they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And because the Black family is different from all other families, I made the decision as a mother that I did not want to taint the relationship that my children had with their father based on what the system says is appropriate for them, because I believe that they're still shorted even with what the system says they should have. So the reason why the relationship has mended itself with my children and their father is because I made a choice that I always wanted that relationship to be one that was healthy, that involved just us because we're the only ones in the family in the first place. So taking my ills and my issues to a system that I know is designed to break us down in the first place is the exact reason why I never took it there. And I believe that we need to teach other women the importance of connecting so that you don't feel like that's where you need to go in order to fix the ills in your home, because that's not going to fix it. It's only going to break it down on a greater level because that's what it's designed to do. If the man doesn't have the financial wherewithal to take care of his children, you don't beat him down that much more and put him in a position where he goes to jail so that he definitely can't take care of his kids. And that's what usually happens. You force him into a situation where you ask him to give you something he doesn't have to give you. And I'm not making excuses. Let me just say that. I'm not making excuses for men not to take care of their children, but you have to understand the root and the dynamic of why the breakdown is there in the first place. And we've already established what that is. So in order for that breakdown to be fixed, it has to be healed. So if a black man is broken, you need to understand that it might not be his desire not to take care of his children, but you need to know the root cause behind why he does not. And part of the issues that I can say from a woman's perspective is we don't want to understand that. We just want it taken care of. And the reason why it's not is because we don't.
That is not our responsibility.
It's our responsibility because we're part of the family dynamic. It is our responsibility to our children and to the man.
Let me backtrack. So everything you just said, you put all the emphasis on what the women are supposed to do. Well, newsflash, women have just as many traumas, just as many backups that they have to do, that they're trying to clear themselves up in order to be able to function. So what you did was put all of the emphasis on what women should do. Women need to keep the system out of it. Women need to try to understand. Women should not. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with it, but it is not the whole burden of the black woman to do that. The black woman don't make those kids by themselves. So we have to be understanding. And we have to do all these things for me. And I believe, I believe that we should do that for everybody. But it is not solely the black woman's burden to do so.
Oh, I agree with you.
Who's gonna help her? Who's gonna understand who is going to keep her from going to these systems? But if she needs a supplement and what she's doing is not enough, what should she do? Is it her responsibility to drag that gentleman if he's willing to do some to therapy or to have mediation? At some point, we all have to be accountable for self. And so what the issue that I have with that narrative is that just like society, just like what we see, it is always the narrative that it falls on the black woman.
I don't think so. I think what it is at some point, one of the other side has to have some compassion and understanding for the other side. Yep. The muddy water has to be treaded through in order to get to the safer shores on the other side. It's not the black woman's burden to drag a man through and to his responsibility. You know what I mean? But it's the black woman and the black man's responsibility to look at this thing and go through this thing for a common goal. That's the problem. There's a common goal, but everybody wants to take their own path and nobody wants to share the path, whether reaching, the final destination is a more clear path or steady. Everybody can have a good idea, but unless it's their idea, somebody don't want to go along with it because it wasn't their idea, and they're going to find some problems with it. At some point or another, we need some compassion and understanding that we're going to have to slow down, separate from our emotions, look at the common goal, and look at the steps it's going to take that we work together. We all go, not all, but a lot of people go to jobs every day where you work with a multitude of people. You may not like everybody you work with, but you all work together for that common goal at the end of the day. Whatever your task is set for that day. You don't have to like the other person in order to get the common goal done. Black families, especially separated parents, who are co-parenting, it's their responsibility to reach a point where we can operate for this common goal of creating a stable future, or even a dynamic, a narrative for the children to see as a healthy relationship, to start to build first mentally, because your mind grows when you see and experience different things, especially in a positive way.
So I'm going to go back to my initial statement, because you brought up something good. Now, when I said I think most people don't know how to, I heard two people disagree with me. But let's go back. If we're saying the breakdown of the family and how it's mostly single mothers and things of that nature, it is very much so possible that people do not understand how to do effective problem solving, effectively communicate. If you grow up and you've never, A, had a man in the house, or B, what you saw from your parents was dysfunctional, then it may be that you don't know how to go about solving effectively and to co-parent and to be able to communicate so that each party's needs are met. That is very much so a viable option. Most of the people that come and sit in my chairs, that's the main thing. When we start talking about goals, it is how to effectively communicate. You know why? Because they've never seen it done. They don't have many examples of healthy communication.
And, that's what they need to see. That's what we all have to understand and begin to perpetuate, begin to actively involve ourselves in our healthy conversations that our children can see.
Here's my issue.
In order to fix our problems down the road.
Here's my issue with what you're saying with all this. You're saying you need to be around environment. But if Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms like that are not pushing those subjects, because they can't push them and get them to the top. On my Facebook timeline, I'm liable in a week to see at least 3 black women on there fighting religiously. It's like, I think the only thing black women do, we fight all the time. They fight. Now they fighting so good, they fight. They even choose the one where they fight like men.
Well, look, Facebook works off of algorithms.
No, it does make off somebody creating I believe that, but I don't believe that it's that scientific. I do believe they are manipulated by the people who create them.
Nothing like that comes across my feed, is what I'm saying. I don't see black women fighting. I don't see, unless I specifically go look for that thing and I'm interested in those things, then those are the things that starts to feed into.
So you're saying that Facebook only sends that to people who are looking for them, and that you're so special in this world, you're getting none of that. You get nothing negative about black people on your feed.
Oh,
you're not on Facebook.
I get plenty.
You're looking at 5 friends and you're not looking at nothing.
I get plenty of negative things. Then that just comes from the system itself. You know what I mean? That perpetuates everything negative, especially the narrative that they want to create about our community. Now, there's plenty of good that's out there, but I mean that's the local news. You know what I mean? You watch the news, a 45-minute program, and at least 36 minutes of it is something negative or irrelevant, regardless of all the good things that's going on, in the world that they can report on and inform people about. Look at all the missing people, missing kids going every day, but how often do your news program show you a bunch of missing kids? Between all the television, even Facebook and everything else, how many missing kids advertisements do you actually see? So there's a lot that the system could be doing, and it's a lot that they're doing that isn't proper. But what I'm saying is, if you can't look for Facebook or Instagram or TikTok to be any kind of help. And it's not a crutch or an excuse for anything that's going on in our community, because everything that's been forced upon and perpetuated against our community have existed long before these platforms.
That's correct. Let me say this about that. Let me go back and let me just clarify so it'll be clear for everyone that's listening to this program. I am not against utilizing the system. But what I am against is people not understanding what utilizing the system actually means. Because some people are under the impression that utilizing the system is going to be beneficial for them in a way that's not always properly explained. So yes, you are deciding that you want to get assistance to help you with raising your children and having finances. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also an invitation into your life on a level that you don't have control of. And that's what I'm talking about. A lot of people think that when they decide to allow the system to come into the situation that they have control over it, but you don't. Because guess what? The same system that says this, they're there to help you, because I did that. That's why I'm talking about it. I went there initially to find out, how does this really work? And guess what? The system turned on me, sis. Bruh. You understand what I'm saying? The system came to me and said, well, what are you doing?
Right.
Are you working? How much money do you make? Well, why are you all not? Why are you all not together? You know, what part did you play in that? And so now, okay, well, you know, what kind of finances do you have in the home? And, you know, do you have all of his information? And if you don't, then you need to figure it out on your own. Now, this is someone that looks just like me talking to me this way. And what about that says that this is here to benefit me because they understand the issue that I'm holding, which brought me to them in the first place. But see, all of that is designed on purpose because they understand the dynamics behind what is available to us. But they also know who and what to put in place so that they discourage people from actually wanting to utilize it.
Whatever is available is what they give or what they take away.
That's correct.
You know, so when you're looking to them for any kind of help, then you're looking in the wrong place within the system.
Let me say, do we honestly think that women are going to DSS, which let's clarify the money. Most women that receive child support are getting probably less than $200 a month, and I mean very generous.
Absolutely.
That's number one. Number two, whenever you're receiving from DSS, you have to be making less than like $400 a month to even be entitled for any type of like money. Like the, what is that? I can't remember what it worked first. And that's only a 60-month program. And I know that because while I was in grad school, I worked for DSS for 5 years in 3 different areas. So that's number two. As far as what most women are receiving are food supplements and insurance. So most of the time, women are, if they're opening up a child support case, most of the time, it is so that they can receive some sort of benefit. But let's take it back. Do we really think that most women are going down to DSS or whatever? Do you think it's out of need or out of want? Because I think that we're talking about, we're making it seem like it's a want and we're doing it just, just because for extra money for hair and nails. I think that people are genuinely going because they don't have enough to make ends meet. So people are desperate. And so I just want us to make sure that we are that we're really empathizing with the people that do so. Now I do agree with they're long term, no, they're not. But at that time when your children are hungry, that food stamp card looks mighty well. When your children need to go to the doctor, that Medicaid, being able to go wherever, works for you. And so I don't want people to get on there, well, women shouldn't do this, or it's about, I think at the time people are trying to get their needs met. And I just want to make sure that we're highlighting that for everyone. But I don't think most people enjoy going down there, like you said, giving their paychecks to, giving the names of people that they slept with, or any of that. I don't think people really get a lot out of it.
I'm going to say this. This is why the Republican Party are out there saying, why are we still Democrats?
Republican, Democrat, Independent, it don't matter. If they are playing within the political system, it plays no part for us.
I have a question, and this is something I ask a lot of people. We can say when the internet revolution started, that pretty much we were on pretty much playing fields. We had the opportunity to same educations. We had the same opportunity to build companies. How did we end up with not one of the top 5 companies being African American?
Well,
how is it? But when the internet revolution started, we had the education, we had the capabilities to create companies. How come we wasn't one of the top 5 companies created?
But listen, look at the time when the internet revolution started.
In the 2000s, the 1990s, the 2000s.
Okay, now before the internet revolution, check the history at how much black people was doing, how much black people was spending. Not we still got.
You're not listening to my question. What I'm asking you is, and this is what I'm asking. If society is not manipulating this, if this is truly us issue, why are we so far behind on the things that are good and the things that that's not really good for our community? We're the leaders in. Welfare. I mean, income didn't have anything to do with crime.
We're not the leaders in welfare. See, that's the whole thing I keep saying.
We're not the leaders in welfare.
Right, because you're
tell me something.
You're making statements that perpetuate a lie against our community.
That is true.
Here you go. You say that. You say that.
White people are the largest.
No. Listen, go ahead. I'm going to tell you why I disagree with this. Let me tell you this. Now, let you speak.
Just because you disagree don't make it right, because white people are the largest recipient of welfare benefits. Black people are only 13% of the population.
And the largest cases of fraud.
But on it now, if you look at anywhere you go, and you look at the narrative that's being spent, what do they say? What's the narrative being spent? We just acknowledge that white people are the largest people on welfare. We just acknowledge that they're the largest group of fraud. What is the narrative that's spent everywhere in the world?
That is us.
So if we don't have access to control that narrative, we're always looked upon as the problem. So how do we get past that to build our families back? Because as long as it's out there, it's going to be hard to build our families.
Right, but the issue isn't the system. Let me just say that. The reason why there's a breakdown in the black family is